everyone, welcome to the lecture series on disaster recovery and Build Back Better. In this lecture, I will focus on community participations in disaster risk governance, focusing on some case studies in Mumbai, India. I am Shubhajyoti Samadar from Disaster Prevention Research Institute, Kyoto University. Community participation is a buzzword in disaster risk management, in disaster recovery and reconstruction and rehabilitations. We have to involve community starting from the recovery, mitigation and preparedness activities related to disaster, right? This is already agreed, and you can see there are so many citations. We can give many more citations like that. Now, it is a kind of troubleshooter. If you have any problem to implement your strategies and plan, you fail to do so, you incorporate community participations, involvement of community, participatory approach. That is, everybody would tell you, okay? It's a kind of troubleshooter. It's like broccoli. Everybody would ask you to eat. It's a broccoli in planning, in disaster risk management. Nobody would tell you don't eat. Everybody would recommend you to have community participations as a tool to successful implementations of disaster risk management. Now, why it is so? That we know that risk is subjective. Different stakeholders have different perceptions. So involving community is important in order to incorporate different perceptions, different ideas, needs and concerns into the management process. Otherwise, people feel that they are cheated. They are not really incorporated into the decision-making process because they have the stake, so they have the right to tell us that what they want, what is the concerns they have. Because we know not only the risk, but what is to be done, when to be done, how it will be done, who will do it. These policy options are also contested. So one is the assessment, finding the problem of the risk. Another one is the policy options. For that, we need community participations. Also, in many cases, we cannot rely simply on the local government. We have to enhance the capacity of the local people so that just after the disaster, they can survive. They can manage the situation, okay, until and unless the local government or external agencies are able to reach to them. Also, for the sustainability issues, sustainable community, we need to improve people's own capacity. We need to enhance, empower their capacity. So self-reliance and using the local knowledge are critical components in disaster risk management. So therefore, we should promote community participations in disaster risk management. But in reality, there is a huge gap. We are asking that, okay, we need to involve community into disaster risk management, but actually it is not happening. There is a huge gap between policy and practice, theory and implementation. Why? Why? Why, after spending so much of time, energy and money, we fail to incorporate communities, local communities into the decision-making process? Why participatory disaster risk management programs, they failed? It could be in rehabilitations, it could be for the preparedness, whatever. So participation, the one reason that participation is understood and practiced in different manners. There is no one universal definition of participations, okay? So how to involve the community into the process, into the decision-making process, into the planning process, this understanding remains controversial. We have a lot of understanding of that. Various people understood participations from various perspectives. this is one of the classical model developed by Shelley and Einstein, and talking about the types of participations, a ladder of public participations. If you look into the left-hand side, you can see there is starting from manipulations, then informations, consultations, partnership, and citizen control. What is that? Let us convert this model in disaster risk management context. When we are talking about manipulation kind of thing, or only informations kind of thing, okay, it leads to that community is a passive recipient of informations. We only provide informations to the people, telling them, you do this, you evacuate, you raise your plinth level, okay. These simple things that we experts know everything, and we are telling the people what to do, and they just get the informations, receive it, and they will follow our instructions, okay. So that is a simple model that we follow. Another one is kind of tokenism, okay, or consultations. Some people are saying, in case of disaster risk management, that our focus is not that people are not passive recipient, but what we do then, we actually involve them in understanding the risk, because we know people have different understanding of the risk. So we should simply ask them to participate, to tell us, along with the expert, that what are the risks they think they are vulnerable to, okay. So just for the risk assessment, we involve them. In little higher level, value consultations, we not only involve them in assessing the risk, estimating the risk, but we prepare a plan. Most of the cases in urban planning, we prepare the plan, and then those who are living in these areas, those who are the citizens or the stakeholders, we invite them and we show them, okay, hey, we prepared this plan. Now tell us this plan is good or not. They didn't prepare the plan. We prepared the plan, experts, okay, authorities, implementing agencies, they prepared the plan, and they are asking common people that what are the gaps there, what are the components to be incorporated into this decision making process, okay. This is still a kind of consultations kind of question, a simply kind of question of consultations. Some more radical people in participations, they are saying this is not even enough. What we need collaborative knowledge and action plan development. Collaborative knowledge. In that process, the community and the local leaders, along plus the experts or the external agencies, they should sit together. They should share informations with each other, community from their own experience, from own local knowledge, and the expert from their own expertise, scientific understanding, they would also provide input to the project. And then both of them together, by sharing and exchanging information, would develop. First, they would understand the problem, what are the risks they are facing, and how it can be solved, and what are the options, tools, and strategies that we can adopt. So this is another way of looking into the participations. But starting from the bottom to the top, everybody is saying that I am doing community participations. Any project you open, they would say that our project is participatory. But it could be just participatory means providing informations, or it could be just a value consultations with the people, or it could be at the collaborative knowledge or plan development. Then if all of them are participatory, then we are lost. So therefore, people have different understanding. There is no universal definition of participations, given that it's really challenging to incorporate community into the planning process. Not only that, we have different participatory tools. In case of disaster risk management, we have risk mapping, we have Yeoman-Kaige system method or Foursquare table method, or maybe disaster games, or maybe some scenario development, or some interactive workshops. So these all are considered to be participatory tools. That means a tool to involve local community into the participatory process. Okay, we have so many tools. Now, these tools, they vary from each other in terms of their structure, in terms of their method, in terms of their time, resources, skill. They vary from each other, great extent. The way you conduct Yeoman-Kaige, you cannot conduct the game. But all participatory tools, they have one common objective. That is, they wanted to involve community into the disaster risk management process. When I am a practitioner, I am very confused. Which tool to take? Which tool to adopt in order to effectively involve community into the decision-making process? I don't know. Then which one I should try and what basis? That's a real dilemma. Being a practitioner, so I would like to ask this question to the expert. Another problem is that when we are talking about various kind of participatory exercises, they also vary in great extent that how they are, what is the purpose of that exercise? Is it just focusing on understanding the risk or people's perceptions, or is it also that how to manage the risk? Some studies is showing that most of the cases, disaster risk management participatory tools, their focus is on understanding the risk, awareness, but they have less focus on how to manage the risk. So if people do not know what to do, it makes them fatalist. It makes them frustrated. That if I don't know, only knowing the risk is not easy. So they prefer not to participate. Another one is that when we conduct participatory exercises, it's a kind of art and a kind of skill. It depends on what language you are using during the exercise. Are you using local knowledge, local language, or the foreign language? What is the experience of the facilitator? What extent he is knowledgeable, skillful, his experience or her experience, that matter. Somebody has a lot of experience, he or she can deliver much better than a new person, a fresh person. It's a practical, professional things. Also, it's which place you are conducting participatory exercise. Is it inside the community, outside the community? Also, time, another variable, that how long it takes. Does it take a long time? Does it take short time? Okay, so these variables should be considered when we want effectively to engage community into the decision-making process. Also, there is a question of control of exercise or facilitation process. In many extents, some people argued that the facilitator, he controls everything. Who will participate? When will participate? What should be discussed? The number of participants. So with these, though it's a kind of participation questions, but everything is decided by the facilitator. So he has the power to control everything. So he put on someone's behalf the power to others. So instead of being a gigantic one by small effort, a big fish is eating everyone. So this should be considered when we are considering about participations of communities in disaster risk management. Also, the question of the benefit and functions of community participations. What are the, like these, some of the outcomes, these are outcomes that we often consider that comes from participatory projects. Like if we involve community, that will actually increase people's awareness. It will give better accepted decisions. It can also resolve conflict among stakeholders. It can improve preparedness, and it could empower the people. They have more willingness to participate, and they are more self-reliant, and they can do by themselves without external help. These are fine. But the problem is that these outcomes, these claims by different organizations, both government and non-governmental organizations, both practitioners and the researchers, the problem is that we don't have enough evidence, empirical evidence, that these claims are really true. That through involving community into the decision-making process, we can really achieve that one. We can really achieve that one. This is still unknown. Nevertheless, we are claiming that our project is better, our exercise is better. So if we don't know how to make this one, how to deliver this kind of outcomes, then it's very difficult to scale up one project to another place. The project that is appropriate in Roorkee may not be appropriate in Delhi, may not be appropriate in Dehradun. So we need to know what to do then. Another problem is that there is no single nomenclature of participations, participatory based disaster risk management. We gave it so many names. For example, community-based disaster risk management, CBDM, integrated community-based disaster risk management, participatory disaster risk management, local level disaster risk management, multi-stakeholder participations, collaborative disaster risk management. They all are considered to be participatory, but they have a different name. For the practitioners and also for the community, it's very confusing that how they are different, why they are given different names. It actually makes the situation complex. As a result, what we are finding across regions, across nations, across globe, that participatory programs, participatory exercises, projects, that is, if it is called in somewhere good, successful, or effective, we are not able to transfer these knowledge into another place. They're saying that it's very localized, site-specific. We cannot translate that one. So there is a huge gap between theory and practice. Okay? So then what we need to do? How we can solve this problem? Some people are saying that we can solve this problem by developing a framework. We need to kind of evaluation that what works and why not. So for that we need evaluation, and for that evaluation we need some framework. So participatory disaster risk management should have one framework through which there's a kind of benchmark through which you can tell, okay, this project is working well and this project is not working well, to involving community into the decision-making process. So there are a lot of theories on that, but if we can accumulate those theories, summarize them, we can actually get a picture of a kind of synthesis of these one. What we found is that the most of the arguments are coming in two pillars, or kind of two components, two major components. One component is the process-based criteria, that there is a process that a participation should follow, and there is an outcome that we can get from participations. So, what is a process? This is a pathways to achieve the expected outcome, that I want to go there. So, I have to follow some functions, some steps, some measures. As a kind of mechanism to adopt who will add, who will join, when will join, and what extent he will be joining, and evaluate the quality and characteristics of the means of participations, like early and continued engagement of the community, representation of relevant stakeholders, fairness, capacity building, incorporating local knowledge, good facilitations, resource availability. These should be considered as participatory. Then we have outcome based criteria. These are participations from what we can achieve from the participations. What are the outcomes? It's not necessary that if you follow a particular process, an ideal process of participation, it's not necessary that it would deliver you a good outcome, good effective outcome. So then outcome based criteria, we expect that what are the results, expected desired result, okay, and what are the mechanism to channel communities' demand, reduce delay in difficult decision making, enhance ownership, build consensus, etc. And ensure mutual trust, respect, ownership, transparency, accountability, conflict resolution, and consensus building, and cost and time effective. So based on that, we can actually develop these framework. On the left hand side, we have process of public participations. On the right hand side, we have outcomes of public participations. Like for the process of public participations, we may consider early engagement of the community and representations of, so early engagement of the community, it means that community should be involved from the very beginning of the participations. It is not that they will suddenly call for involving in construction process in a build back better situations. But we should first know that what is the existing problem, what are the concerns there, what are the prevailing issues there, okay? And then representation of stakeholders. Community is not a black box. There are a lot of differences among themselves. Some is based on class, based on gender, based on caste, status. So we should ensure, try to ensure that all the representative of all sections should participate into this process. The third criteria of process based is the clear and agreed objective at the outset. Many cases that we discuss with the community, but we don't have any agreed objectives, or maybe we don't have any clear objectives. It's always evolving. So it's better to make a very clear objectives. Okay, these are some of our goals and that we would like to achieve. So this will give the community an idea that what they can expect from this project, and we can reach to a consensus in the very beginning, at least some tentative consensus that okay, this is the outcome and we can go ahead for that. Then another one is that continued engagement of the community. Okay, it's not that you ask them, invited them to participate in the very beginning and then you forgot them. No, you should not forget them. You should actually continue consultations with them, involving them in every sphere of life, of the planning process. What is the problem? What is to be done? Who will do it? How do we do? So their roles and responsibilities should be also mentioned, so that community feel kind of ownership. That okay, I am in the project. These are my involvement, and so it will create a more accountable and transparent picture to them about the project. Fairness. Fairness is a kind of component that we discuss, that we are saying that, okay, is sometimes people participate, but it's just a physical participations. They don't have any power or the freedom to express their own opinions. In case of in a village, maybe there are upper caste and lower caste people, they are involving into this process in a discussions, and some of the dominant caste or dominant class, they do not allow the lower caste people or lower class people to talk freely, to propose any new topic or to suggest any new strategies. So that should not happen. Everybody should have the fair and equal right to discuss and suggest on disaster risk management. Then another participatory component is the power to influence the decisions. We should remember that many cases people are invited, people are engaged, but maybe the financial agencies, the major financial resources that is coming from the external agencies, community has less contribution financially. Then what is the case that the external agency, they consult with the community, they involve them throughout the process, but when they make the decision, when they make the plan, there is no reflections of community's opinions, observations and suggestions. So community has very less power, very less stake to influence the decisions. But for the governance, power is very important. Community should be involved into the decision-making process. They should control the decision-making process. They should enjoy a certain amount of freedom and power. Capacity building. Capacity building means that the community, in order to engage with other stakeholders to negotiate with others, to bargain with others, or to involve in the discussions, critical discussions, they should have certain knowledge or skills. Sometimes because of lack of educations or illiteracies or remoteness of the place or remoteness of their exposure to external agencies or external like media, some sections of the community or few communities, they have less this kind of knowledge, technical knowledge or outside knowledge, external knowledge or formal knowledge. Therefore, they cannot effectively negotiate with the external agencies. So they should have this power to bargain with the other, so that we should improve their knowledge and capacity. Also, they should be able to trust themselves. Okay, this is important. And good facilitation process. There should be enough skill, like face-to-face and using local language, not to widen the scope of the program exercise. These are some of the components we should consider in the facilitation process. So it's a kind of art and skill of the facilitator to conduct effectively participatory tools. So that we should consider when we are involving community. Good facilitation, okay? And then we need to incorporate local knowledge. Many cases that latent knowledge, tacit knowledge, that's are important. So we should try to grasp that knowledge. People use their experience and their traditional living in the same place, that developed a knowledge, and that can eventually, and also the resources, like they have sands, muds, these should be, or trees, whatever natural and other resources they have and knowledge they have, that should be used. It could be makes the project more cost effective, and they can feel their ownership. And also there should be some resource available. Okay, And another one is the outcome of public participations. Like participation should be successful in terms of implementations. It's not that we are making a plan, we are talking and then we forget about everything. We should make it very clear that what are the outcomes of the projects. Transparency and accountability. Like that what is the cost of the projects, who are benefiting out of it. Okay, these kind of things should be very clear, accountable. What is the distribution, what are the roles people are playing. Mutual trust, that should be achieved through participations. Stakeholders should believe among themselves. It should be able to resolve conflict, distrust among themselves. That would call an ideal participations. Ownership feeling, that when you are achieving, when you are finishing some projects, the project is made for the community themselves. You are reconstructing new houses, it is for the people who are affected by a disaster. So in the end of the project, people should own it. They should not refuse that houses. If they refuse that houses, we feel that there is no ownership. So we should make sure that a successful participation means that people get these ownerships from the project. Conflict resolutions. As I said, that if there is a kind of distrust, may not be we all always be able to reach to an agreed decisions, but at least one group should know that what are the concerns, what are the problems there from another perspective, from another group's perspective. So there is kind of shared knowledge, shared understanding and shared interest that should be there. And cost effective, using local knowledge and other natural resources, locally available resources, and involving people, their labor, their roles and responsibilities would effectively reduce the cost. That would be self-sustainable. They don't need to exploit the nature tremendously or don't need to depend on others. Okay? So that will easily lead to kind of self-enhance, self-reliance kind of questions. So if they have any plan, they can pursue that plan without depending on any external agencies. Another one is the time effective, that the project should be finished within a particular time. It should not be too long, should not be too short. So these are the criteria of public participations. I will try to give a picture from different case studies like public participations in Mumbai, in Ghana, and also in Gujarat. Okay, so thank you very much for listening this lecture, and I will introduce to you in other lectures some of the case studies to see that how we can apply these ideas. Okay, thank you very much.